Hello and welcome back! Now, in the previous video, we formulated this particular justification as to why the hammer is the murder weapon. So let me just recap. Premise 1, if there's blood on the object, then it is the murder weapon. Premise 2, there is blood on this hammer. Conclusion, therefore, the hammer is the murder weapon. So what do you think? We follow each stepping stone and we arrive at the conclusion. Is this sound? Well, let's examine this, shall we? If we want to be critical in our assessment, we need to evaluate whether the premises hold firm. Remember, if a premise is shown to be false, then the stepping stones won't lead us to the certainty of the conclusion. So if we want to be critical in our assessment, we need to evaluate whether the premises, the stepping stones, hold firm. So let us now zoom in on premise 1, shall we? The murder weapon is that item which has blood on it. Notice how our premises have its own assumptions, items of knowledge that we take for granted, embedded into it. What is the assumption? In this case, I'm assuming that the murderer did not wipe off the blood from the weapon. In fact, I'm also assuming that the murder weapon must have blood on it. Assumptions are the foundations underlying our premises, our stepping stones. If we have very weak assumptions, then our stepping stones will be loose and shaky. You might be able to cross the river to the conclusion, but not everyone can do it safely. Why? Because they themselves may not agree with your assumption. Some of you might have looked at premise 1 and you go, hey, wait a minute, I don't agree with this. Why? That's because you didn't share the same assumption. So let's do this. Let's investigate this assumption and see whether there are strong justifications in support of or maybe against this assumption. What can we say to support this assumption? Well, in the first place, it is a gruesome and bloody murder, right? So since the weapon caused the victim to bleed, there should be blood on the weapon. Is it safe to assume that there will definitely be blood on the weapon? From the earlier eyewitness accounts, we know that the suspect was found running out of the room immediately after the scream. Now, no one saw the suspect carrying any weapons, so I think it's safe to assume that the weapon is definitely still in the room. And given how rushed it was, our suspect probably didn't have time to hide the weapon or even clean the blood off the weapon. Now, we could be wrong, we could be mistaken, but given the limited information that we have right now, I think it's reasonable assumption to hold, right? For the time being at least. Now, let's examine the arguments against this assumption, against this premise, so that we have reason to doubt it. Now, for starters, it was a gruesome murder, right? So sure, there's blood on the hammer, but if you think about it, there's blood everywhere, right? So what's the moral of the story? Just because you see A and you see B doesn't mean that A caused B. Just because I see hammer and I see blood doesn't mean that the hammer caused blood to appear. It doesn't mean that the hammer was the murder weapon. If you think about it, our rubber chicken has blood on it. Does it mean that it is the murder weapon? No, right? So what can we learn from this? Correlation is not causation. Just because you see two things present together does not mean that one caused the other. This is very important when we're analyzing data because it's very easy to find correlations all over the place. So even if you can put together multiple correlations suggesting the same thing, it's still not enough because correlations just tell you that you see A and you see B. I see C, I see B. I see D, I see B. That's it. If we really need to make a strong case, we need to close the gap. We need to show somehow that there's reason to believe that there is a causal relationship between the two. If you say hammer is a murder weapon, then we need to have more reasons to believe that the hammer caused the murder, not just point out that there's blood here, there's blood there. Not enough, not enough. Now when you think about it, it's a gruesome murder, right? So there's blood all over the room. So just because an object has blood on it doesn't mean that it's the murder weapon. In fact, if you think about it, the murder weapon could have blood on it and a lot of non-murder objects have blood on it too. This is what's known as noise. Just as how noise makes it hard for you to hear me speak, noise makes it hard for us to identify the cause, the murder weapon. So basically, not all blood stains are relevant. Some are relevant, the rest are noise. Like I can have blood on this rubber chicken, it's just noise. So notice what happened in your head. I have just made you doubt premise 1 because I weakened the assumption that was underlying the stepping stone of premise 1. Or maybe if you are already doubting premise 1, then congratulations, you are already a very critical thinker thus far. Now, and because you are doubting premise 1, you're not sure if the hammer is the murder weapon anymore. See what we just did? By weakening the premises, your certainty of the conclusion is now weakened. And this is precisely how we refute a justification. We need to target the premises, not the conclusion. If you want to be a critical thinker, then you need to target your own premises and show that your premises can stand firmly, and then show others that they have no reason to doubt your own premises, your own justification. That's how you make sure your justification is strong. Now, let's review our list of potential weapons in the room once again, shall we? We have the hammer, the baseball bat, the table lamp, the spoon, knife, a pair of scissors, a camera tripod, portable Bluetooth radio, computer mouse, and of course the rubber chicken. So what can we do? Well, remember we have noise everywhere, blood everywhere, right? How do we know which objects are relevant? Okay, we can at least narrow down the list and get rid of most of the noise. How do we do that? We can strengthen premise 1 by adding more conditions, okay, to eliminate the noise. So what can we do? So remember our forensics report, the victim died because a blunt object was used to strike the victim's head multiple times until the skull split open, correct? In order to do that, you need a blunt object that is heavy enough. Like this is too light. No matter how many times you strike my skull, too thick already, right? won't split open. You need something heavier. So we can now modify premise 1 from if there's blood on the object, then it is a murder weapon. We can now change it to if there is blood on the object and the object is heavy enough, then it is the murder weapon. Just by adding this one extra condition, we can eliminate a lot of irrelevant items, like this rubber chicken, too light to be the murder weapon, and this spoon, again too light to cause the skull to split open. So there's blood stains on them, but they're not relevant to the murder. Now, to complete our justification, we'll use premise 2 to discuss the features of the object that we are screening. So it'll go something like this. Now, premise 1, if there is blood on the object and the object is heavy enough, then it is the murder weapon. Premise 2, a computer mouse has blood on it, but it is not heavy enough. Therefore, conclusion, the computer mouse is not the murder weapon. And we can do this for all the other items on the list. And what happens? Now we can eliminate spoon, we can eliminate the knife, we can eliminate pair of scissors, camera tripod, portable Bluetooth radio, computer mouse, rubber chicken, right? We are left with the hammer, the baseball bat, and the table lamp. Wow, isn't it amazing? We have narrowed our list down to just 3 items. So this makes our investigation so much easier to handle. So then the question now is, of these 3 items, which one is our murder weapon? We'll find out in the next video. Bye!